This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is now available on Amazon. A link to the book will be placed in the description below.
Alright, y'all. So, Anthony Oksenholt, Oksenholt Biloxi Publishing. You know, first off, I want to apologize about the quality of this video. It's probably going to suck, but hey, cheap laptop, back of a semi, you know, not too much I can do about it. Anyway, I want to talk to y'all about something here. So, while I am driving, and I'm an over-the-road truck driver, which is why I can't write every day, because you know, I'm usually working and trying to make my next deadline. I don't listen to the radio a lot. I don't like new music. I don't like listening to the same old songs over and over again. Because I don't listen to a lot of new music, so I listen to audiobooks. I think listening to the stories, since I can't exactly read while I'm driving, it keeps my mind focused. And as of late, the last two books that I've listened to was John Jake's North and South and Love and War. I'm going to finish out the trilogy, and I'm currently just started today listening to Heaven and Hell. John Jakes gave me the idea to write my book, The Fighting Mississippians. In the North and South trilogy, he took two fictional families, the Hazards of Pennsylvania and the Maines of South Carolina, compiled other characters with them, and put them around historically accurate people. And he said, when I was listening today, when I finished up Love and War, his afterward, I was listening to it, and he said that, you know, he's talking about how much research went into it, and, you know, the historical accuracies, and, you know, of course there are some dramatized things that basically he said could have happened at the time. But what I gathered from him is that you owe a duty, if you're going to write about a certain era of history, to try to represent the past as best you can, unapologetically. Now, this also goes into what another YouTuber that I like to watch, Oksenholt Films, Andy. He's a young guy. He's down in New Orleans. If I ever get back to the city, I might try to look this guy up, and I'd love to buy him a beer and pick his brain, because this guy is brilliant in my opinion. Nothing short of brilliant. He said something that really struck me as well. One of his videos, he was talking about Gods and Generals. You know, the Ron Maxwell movie from, I think, 2003. And he said that, you know, he didn't like how they glossed over the issue of slavery and how basically it portrayed slaves in the Confederate Army as these revered, you know, basically it didn't show them in the proper light. And then there was another scene when they were burning, I think it was Petersburg, or when the Yankee occupation of Petersburg, you know, slaves that were, you know, real fond of their masters and things like that. Wasn't always the case. You know, it prettified slavery. And he said something to the effect of, you have a duty, a moral obligation to call it for what it was. These are two people that I respect, and honestly, I didn't think that I could love and respect John Jakes more than I did before I listened to his afterward and really listened to it. Now I hold him so high in regard, it's not even, it's almost immeasurable. Coupling that with what Andy said with the Toonshea Films, I think I have a duty with the Fighting Mississippians to try to give y'all the historically accurate description of what was going on at the time. Now, North and South focuses on basically 30 years. I mean, it mentions a little bit of the family history and how the Maines were Huguenots and came over to South Carolina back in the, I think, 1600s, maybe 1700s, and the Hazards in the late 1600s came to Pennsylvania. Mine tells the story of how the patriarch of the family fought during Queen Anne's War. So, I mean, we're starting off at the same time, but I'm actually following instead of just skipping from when they came here to what's going on today. I'm actually following the story through. And it's taken me a lot of research because there was a lot that went on. You know, in school we were basically taught that, you know, the revolution happened in 1776, Declaration of Independence, and then, you know, we whipped the British and became the U.S., Constitution was ratified, the Bill of Rights, and then the war between the states happened. There was a lot that went on in between there, especially in the South. There was a lot that went on there in the North too, but really in the South, there was a lot that went on in between those two times, and even before it, you know. I'm mentioning the French and Indian War. I'm mentioning the conflicts of, you know, when Mississippi was, I guess, annexed. The disputes with Spain, because Spain owned the Louisiana Purchase, or what would later become the Louisiana Purchase at that time. Spain thought they had control over Natchez, and there was some heavy interference that the young Georgia colony could not really do anything about. A lot of people don't realize that Georgia actually went from the Atlantic seaboard all the way to the Mississippi River. There was unofficial claims all the way to the Pacific coast, but there was a lot of states that claimed that, and I'm not including that because really nobody had really explored, but just a few hundred miles inland, no Englishmen I should say, had really explored that deep into the interior. That would come years later. Obviously, the Lewis and Clark expeditions, whatever. So I'm not really counting that, but we did go to the Mississippi River. You know, there was land scandals. People got screwed. People were put out there, they were promised land grants after the Revolutionary War. And of course, you're disputing the Native Americans that were there. Some of the land grants were on their lands, and you might have 3 or 4 different claims, official land grants to the same parcel of land. And it was called the Yazoo Land Scandal. Sorry, I'm out here in Oklahoma, and for some reason I get out west, my skin starts drying out. I need to stay in the South. Anyway, so you had all these different things going on that you had to really look at. Mississippi statehood, the Indian Removal Act, or Indian Removal Acts, I should say, because there were several. You had Mississippi, Natchez, Mississippi, being, if not the most wealthiest city, one of the most wealthiest cities in the U.S. for 40 years, from 1820 to 1860. Mainly due to slavery. I mean, it's pretty poor now, but, North and South, the trilogy ends, and when I say North and South, I'm referring to all 3 books, the entire trilogy, ends around 1870. Mine ends present day. I'm talking about the socioeconomic struggles. I'm talking about the patriotism. I'm mentioning things like the sinking of the USS Maine down in Havana in 1898. And how some of the family joined up because, obviously Fighting Joe Wheeler joined up. And, Fighting Joe Wheeler became a U.S. general after the war between the states. There's actually a good movie about that called Rough Riders, but do your own research. Although I think Gary Busey did a very good Fighting Joe Wheeler. Gary Busey's crazy as hell, though. Anyway, Reconstruction. I'm delving into that pretty heavily. I don't want mine to be as wooden as a history book, but I'm taking a lot of my inspiration from John Jakes, and I'm not plagiarizing. I want to make that clear. This is not plagiarism. I don't believe in plagiarism. I think plagiarism should cost you at least 6 of your fingers. just my opinion. It's the writing style that I'm trying to capture and make it my own in the way that I'm doing stuff, because the way he did it was so respectful and so respectable that it commands reverence. And I'm hoping that my book will be as respected as the North and South trilogy. Now, North and South trilogy, he did a lot of research. He had, the Library of West Point, the U.S. Military Academy. He had libraries in Beaufort, South Carolina help him out. Me, what I have with the Fighting Mississippians, I'm telling the story of the Pennington family from Lawrence County, Mississippi. Well, I'm not writing about the real Pennington family from Lawrence County, Mississippi, of which I am actually related. My grandmother was a Pennington from Monticello. Her family had been there since at least 1810. I'm not telling that story. There's also a Lambert faction that I'm putting in there. Well, the Lamberts and the Penningtons are related, and I'm related to them. But I'm not telling about the real people. I don't want one of my distant cousins coming after me trying to sue me, although I think it'd be funny. I'm telling the story fictional. But I want to make it so believable that the historical accuracies are there, as well as what could have happened in the dramatized stuff. Anyway, that's a sneak preview of what I'm doing. That's a project I'm working on. It's taken me years to get this far. It's going to take me years even more. There's a lot of research going into this, and I'm trying to take special care to tell it as what could have happened and what did happen. Anyway, y'all have a good day. If you're a fellow author, keep writing. Get out there and get published, and let's make the world a better place. Y'all have a good day. Anthony Oksenholt, Oksenholt